Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is the Commando Cast, a video cast about all things Star Wars Destiny. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Commando Cast here on Dice Commando. I'm Andrew with you here as always, and yesterday EchoBase got their 3 spoilers so far from Faltering Allegiances, which means 9 cards of the set, so roughly 10% of the set. Today I'm going over those, giving my thoughts, and talking a little bit about Saw from the last time. Hello everyone, thanks for joining me again. So yesterday at, noon my time, and you can do the associated math, but it was yesterday midday in the US and probably later in the evening, almost closer to night in Europe. Our written word compatriots, our written word counterparts, whatever you want to call it, the EchoBase guys, they got their 3 spoilers from Faltering Allegiances. So 3 and yeah, so we got that. That was kind of the speculation that was going around, at least on the Dice Commando Discord, was what we're going to see. It's like, well, someone's like, well, you got red, and then the guys got yellow. The Disney Junior guys got yellow, so it'll be blue, and it was largely. I was kind of wondering if we weren't going to see some villains, but as of right now, everything's hero, which is interesting, right? So yeah, I want to talk about those today because there's some interesting, there's some not interesting, and then there are some interesting cards there. But first, I want to address our buddy Saw here, right? So I'd covered him in the last cast. Again, this was on the Disney Junior thing, so he's been out for, I don't know, 5 days now, something like that. So plenty of time to go back and forth and talk about him. One of the comments that was left on the last video was, "Man, these cards are so OP," and I think that card was, or I think that was. And I mean, it wasn't just one person. I've heard it through other channels as well, and other channels of communication, I mean, as well. And man, these cards are so OP. And, you know, if we're talking about detect or something like that, then I can get behind. Well, I can't really get behind it, but I can at least understand where you're coming from on that, right? Like, I could see how, I mean, I'm reserving judgment until we see the rest of the set and we see how stuff plays, but I can get behind, or I can at least get on board with the comment that, well, I think detect is OP as a mechanic or something like that, right? So if you're saying, man, oh, this is OP because of that, that's completely fair. To specifically say that Saw is OP, I think the majority of the discussion out there right now is whether Saw is good or not that he's OP, right? I mean, the whole thing of we can't figure out the math on him means that I think we can't figure out whether he's good or not, right? So I don't think Saw is OP at all, personally. There's a lot of cool tricks out there, like Fighting Pit's been one that's been tossed around because, yeah, you re-roll him, but you hit for a bunch. And, I mean, I really disagree that Saw is OP. We certainly saw, I mean, the Partisan, I think, is borderline bad, at least again, in the vacuum that we've seen now. I think the Partisan's borderline not good. And then that event card is certainly not OP. Right, so I don't know that that's fair. Anyway, that was just my take on that. Again, if you're upset about detect or whatever, I think that's completely reasonable. It's at least a reasonable opinion to have. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I think it's reasonable. But I don't think saying that the set is OP because of Saw is anywhere close to accurate. So anyway, going into the EchoBase spoilers. So the first one up is Calcestus. So do know, I think that I'm actually pretty well positioned today to have a, just Destiny-based discussion on this because I never played this video game. I just don't have time for that. I do this instead, right? So I don't really have any emotional attachment to these guys. The two of the characters I never even knew existed, right? So I think we can pretty much look at these straight up just as how they exist in Destiny. One thing to note on this, the art pops immediately. This is actually this real original art that was donated, right? This is the kind of stuff we're talking about, guys, like getting behind it, getting people out there to help us develop the set. Mad props to Nicole Tamert. I'll drop a link in there to go check out her other art. She's got a pretty cool Obi-Wan up there. I wonder if that's foreshadowing. I don't know. We will have to see. But so Calcestus, Jedi in hiding, hero blue, 1115, which is interesting with 11 health. He's a 1, a 2, and a +2 melee, a shield, and a resource, and a blank. So that's a pretty typical blue hero die. I mean, it's I think looking at him just on raw stats, I don't think he's a 15-point character. I think he'd almost be like a 14-pointer. Character Jedi, of course. Now, that said, what makes him, I think, the 15 points, I'm sure why they went to 15 on him instead of being 14, because he's probably one of those borderline characters, and they went high because they don't want to be OP, right? You cannot play non-blue upgrades on this character, which is interesting, which means he can't hold a blaster. And then before you, I'm sure there's a flavor reason for that. Before you resolve this die, increase its value by 1 if you have an equipment, weapon, and ability attached to this character, right? So this one's very interesting because that part of the ability I think you would normally see as like a power action, right? But it applies to both of his dice if you play him elite. I think at 11, I think this guy's actually perfectly fine to play single die, like depending on what you are trying to pull off. But it's pretty good, right? I mean, so if you can get the 3 upgrades on him, which I don't think is that hard because there's a lot of zero cost stuff out there, Knighthood being the first one that comes to mind, right? You can just toss it on him. Knighthood doesn't have to go on a non-Jedi, right? So, I don't know. You can, so let's think about it, right? So you have Knighthood, you have Yoda's lightsaber, and then the harder one is equipment because your A99 goes away on rotation. So you're left pretty much with Jedi Republic armor and maybe Holocron, right? Is that right? Or actually, is Holocron even? I'd have to go. I don't even see Holocron's that bad. I don't even remember what set. I'm pretty sure it's in Convergence or SOR. So that the equipment I think is a little harder to do, but then again, we don't know what they have in the set, and then let's go ahead and jump forward by 1, right? So we go to BD1, who's the equipment, right? I mean, he's 1 cost equipment. The obvious intent here is to get that on him, right? But going back, equipment, weapon, and ability, right? So even if you're only playing 1-drops, which are great cards, that's not that hard to do. You have multiple 1-drop abilities out there, Neiman Training being the one that pops to my mind, right? So yeah, he's very interesting. Going into BD1's really good for 1. Independent of the whole Calcestus thing, like BD1's really, really, really good, I think. I mean, his sides are very. So, I mean, they're different, but it's the same type of concept as like the Seeker droid, Iden's droid. The 1 melee, focus, shield, and then a special to heal 2. One thing I don't remember who said it. It was one of the guys. I'm sure other people said it as well, but one of the guys on the Dice Commando Discord pointed out you could run this with. Oh shoot! I'll throw it up. I'm forgetting his name. The 4-armed guy who lets you bring 4 hero cards. I'm showing it right now. I apologize. I'm blanking on the name, right? But you can play it with him as well, which brings much needed healing to villain. So there could be some really cool stuff there. Like one of the we've seen the deck in the past, which was him and Jango as it is. So I think that could be a really cool archetype to explore. Now remember, it's 4 different hero cards, so you can only play 1 of them. But there's certainly other hero blue cards that you'd want to bring. Generally, you do want to play events with him though, because when he rolls in, you can put 1 back on the bottom of deck to deal damage, right? So, but I mean, healing's good. And it's spot a Jedi to move this upgrade to it, right? So it's not like a play restriction or anything. So you could throw this guy on Jango. Like I think it's anyway. I'm not saying like that's the win all, but like I think that's a really cool outside the box design space on that one. So yeah. Anyway, I think BD1's really good. Now do keep in mind that at least from what we've seen, right now, stuff we haven't seen, but from what we have seen, special chain, because the majority of special chaining goes with legacies, right? So right? You lose Ayla, Poe, you lose Ayla, Poe, Yoda. I mean, those are your big special chainers, right? But Price, well, not that that'd come up anyway, but most of their special chaining is gone, is what I'm saying right here. I mean, I think Neiman Mastery is the only one. Well, I guess Neiman Training would work too, because it's an upgrade. I think those are the only ones, I think. So, the special with them only being one special, that is a little harder to hit. So you might have to focus into it or something like that instead of just chaining right into it. But I think this guy is the best of the three that we've seen. But he's not my favorite of the three. So let's go into my favorite of the three. So I don't know who the heck this guy is. Evidently he's some pilot that works with Cal, right? I'm just assuming, right? But Grieezeritis, he's a cantankerous pilot. He's 8'11 for 8, so he's right on normal par there. His die is not great. 1 indirect, focus, discard, money, 2 money for 1. I mean, we've found that to be not that restrictive. It hurts if you don't quite plan it through, but overall the 2 for 1's not bad. He's a character engineer pilot, so somebody else with engineer. Then he has piloting. So do you remember the rebel engineer that does go away in ATG? Not that that matters, but I was just thinking from like run to safety or whatever, right? But so he does have piloting, which is not irrelevant. So if I was a betting man, I'm assuming that in the game he's got a ship, so I'm assuming that ship's probably in Faltering Allegiances, right? After you activate this character, choose a number, reveal the top card of your deck. If the revealed card's cost is the same as the number chosen, turn up to 2 of your dice to any side. Otherwise, force an opponent to remove 1 of your dice, right? So this effect is, you have to build around this. I mean, it's when I read this, I was like, well, after I read it, I had to read it a couple times to get it right, but it's basically a Mother Talzin ability, except that it hurts you if you miss, right? So, and this is not an option. Like, it's after you activate him, reveal. Like, it's not a May. You have to do it, right? And it has to be your deck. So, well, I guess Talzin was a player's deck, right? So, point is here, I think you have to build your deck into it. So that was one of the things that I was kind of bummed about in rotation. If you guys recall several casts ago talking about, it's kind of a bummer we lose Talzin. That was always a really, even though she hasn't been relevant for a long while, I always thought that was the odds thing was a really cool sub mechanic or whatever that was out there. I thought that was a really good one. I think you're doing something here similar, except it's very limited on costs, right? So like, you're not even going all odds now. Maybe you're going all ones, or maybe you're trying to go all zeros. Like, I don't think it's possible to do it as, right? So with Talzin, right, just putting into perspective, you were generally safe running about 25 odds, right, if you're going for ones, right? And you could generally get away with 5, sometimes 6 evens. And I think that with this guy, since it has, I mean, it's such a penalty, right? But I think with this guy, since you do, it's not like a removal or anything, right? Or I mean, it's not a, it's not a flip, is what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I think you have to go more. Like, I think the number's like probably 26, and then you're still gonna get, over the course of a 3 to 4 round tournament, like, you're still gonna get boned a couple times. I mean, I don't see any way around it. No, I mean, actually, what would be neat is if, like, his ship could flip or look at the top card of your deck, right? That'd be kind of neat if they could do that. Like, because Talzin had crystal ball is what I'm saying, right? So Talzin had crystal ball. Like, since he's a pilot, I'm assuming he has a ship. I honestly don't know, right? But I'm assuming, or maybe there's just a gray ship that does it. I don't know. Either way, right? That would be kind of neat. So. But I do like, this guy's my favorite guy of these 3 because of that, right? I think that there's a lot of just deck building options and nuance that can go into that, and I think that's kind of neat, just to have that still. Like, I always really enjoyed that with Talzin and the Night Sisters. It was never super great, but it was fun, and I think he brings a lot of that same stuff to the table, quite literally, right? So. But BD1, I think BD1's probably the more useful of these 3, at least as it is today. But we should not count out Cal, right? Because I don't think getting the 3 upgrades on is going to be impossible. But I do think it's going to take you, at least 2 rounds, right? And probably most of the time you're getting it done either after. I think that trying to get it done round 2, you have to draw well and you have to get what you need, and everything has to work out to get it done round 2. And if it's happening, it's probably going on after you activated, which is fine because it's a resolve, right? So even if he activates and then he throws something on later, it is still a resolve ability. But you're probably only getting maybe one of his dice off round 2 if you're getting it, and then round 3 is where you're singing. So potential decks with this guy, like I could see Rey actually, right? Like you could run him with Rey maybe, because Rey's got the shields, and you could try him with the. You guys know I'm not a fan of the Jedi Cow, but Jedi Cow could work. But again, he's 15, so you're running. I mean, he's middle, right? So yeah, I don't know. I think all of these are playable. I think Cal could be really good. I think Cal's interesting because I think at first pass he looks bad. But the more I've thought about him, I don't think he's bad. I think he could potentially be really good, and like really, really good, if you can make sure he's your last man standing and you've set him up. So I don't know. I think that there's a lot of again, I think these are good design. I mean, the fact that the fact that over the last 2 casts of going through these spoilers, we've been sitting and going in circles debating whether they're good, whether they're not, looking at options. I think that means that the set design is good, right? That's my takeaway. So yeah, with those shown, I mean, that's really all we have for today. Just wanted to go through the spoilers. I'll be back in a couple days, of course, with a normal cast. And thank you guys for joining me as always. And as with always, go Commando.